What makes Ermal Patton Ermal Patton?
Heck if I know. I guess because of born a Patton. When I was a kid, we had to work, and there was times we went a little hungry. Raised up on the wall game a lot, eating it. Sometimes water gravy. Had to eat groundhogs cooked in their own fat, and used the fat to make biscuits. Flour was 10 cents a sack for a 20-pound sack. Might have been a 30-pound sack. As long as you have flour, you could kill a squirrel or a groundhog or something. You had your meal. You bought lard in 5-gallon cans. And we used wood stoves, and we worked hard. And when we was a little better off, we was able to have milk cow and also raise pigs and stuff, the butcher. But right after the war, when my dad come back, which I can remember the second war, I can remember when he come back, it was just coming out of the Depression, and everything was real hard to get. Nobody had anything hardly. The only people that really made it a lot was the farmers. But when my dad come back out of the war, all the soldiers come home, and there wasn't a lot of work for them. So the government had them start planting trees. So I went in Alabama. We met my dad in Alabama, his outfit, when they come back. And he planted trees in Alabama for a while, and then he got transferred back up to Indiana. And then we went back on the Trinkle place down in Little Creek, and he went to work planting trees in Crawford County, pine trees, National Forest ground, until factories opened up and stuff for them to have more work. And then things started getting better. And we moved a lot. We moved 12 times during my childhood. And I was the oldest kid. I was had 4 sisters younger than me. I left home when I was 15. My brother is 18 years younger than I, born 3 years after I left home. So I really never did get to know him very well, or my youngest sister too well either. She was just probably a toddler when I left home.
Tell me a funny story that you remember well from your childhood.
You need to let me know this stuff ahead of time, give me time to think about it. Some of the stuff that was funny was just wouldn't want to tell necessarily.
Or you can tell me a serious one if you want. Or you can tell me a serious story if you want. Either one. So, just a story you remember really well.
Well, I remember one time something that scared me real bad was when I was a kid. I was 10 years old. I was living on Padoke on the Trinkle place, and somebody kept stealing our corn out of our corn crib, stuff out of our garden. We had a garden in front of the house, but had one that was out away from the house and around the bend of the hill, and we couldn't see it unless we was going down the driveway, so we couldn't see it from the house. They poison our hogs, they poison our cattle, our cow, they poison our horses, trying to run us off the place, I reckon. And one time I went out was picking berries along the garden out. We had seen people from the driveway out there when we'd be leaving or coming home in our garden. And I went out there to pick berries one time and heard noise and looked up above me, and a little broom sage field, probably 100 yards from me, or no, probably about 150 feet from me. And somebody stepped up behind the tree and he started firing a pistol at me. And it was just hitting all. I took off running and jumped completely out of my shoes. And bullets was flying all around my legs and feet, knee too. And when I got to the house, my hair stood straight up over my head, and I couldn't tell Mother what happened for about half an hour. And that was about the scariest thing that ever happened to me. I got caught in a tornado one time. I was putting up hay for Irby Patton and his stepson Benny, and we seen a storm coming, and thought it was just a rain cloud. And Irby said, "Well, we're not going to be able to put up any more hay today. It's going to rain us out." And so I'd met him back there on my bicycle, back in Old Dirt Road, above the Corn Church House. Went through there to Underwood Holler, and I met him back there at the hayfield, about halfway between my house and theirs. Well, I said, "Well, I can beat that cloud. I'm going to head home. I can beat that cloud." And I jumped on the bicycle and took off. And they took off toward their house, and they seen the tornado come right across the field behind them, heading right for me. And it did. And I rode off my bicycle, and the pine trees, I grabbed hold of the pine tree, and they was laying on the ground. And about 4-inch pine tree, something like that, and it hadn't been over on the ground, and I was holding on to my legs and hands, and it was trying to suck me off, my legs and my arms, trying to suck me off of it. There was an old field grew up with pine trees, and right below the Old Dirt Road was a hillside with big beech trees and oak trees and such like that. And when it was over, it took them and twisted them around and root watered a lot of them and everything. And anyway, that was pretty scary too. But it wasn't so scary to me until it was over well. I was so weak I couldn't hardly walk. I finally got back on the bicycle and headed on home. Irby and Benny come up there scared to death because they knew it got me. But it didn't get me either.
Who was the most memorable person from your youth?
From my youth? What outside of my parents and sisters and brothers, it's hard to make a difference in who was the most memorable person. I loved them all. I loved all my aunts, which are all dead now, all my uncles and all my cousins, which many of them are dead. I loved all my sisters, my mom and dad. I loved my grandparents real well. My most memorable, my closest one just about was probably my grandma Patton. And
what was
she died when I was 8. She died, yeah. And that was real close to both my grandparents, Grandpa Patton and Grandpa Wells. I liked the way Grandpa Wells sat and told me stories about when he was young and everything all the time, and played music for me on his French harp and sung to me and stuff. But my Grandma Wells had died when my mother was 14, so I never knew her.